for a very beautiful walk along the banks of the Jamuna, and we're going to come to Kaliya-daha and Prabhodananda Sarasvati, and we'll double back on ourselves and we'll go to Sanatana Goswami's Samadhi and the beloved Madan Mohan Mandir. So these 4 places we're going to visit today. But we'll do some kirtans first, and then we'll go into our descriptions.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Ashtadyadi Shatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pradhyana Keshavitinamine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Iti Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vrindavandite Triloka Shoka Harine Prashanna Vaktra Pankaje Nikunja Bhuvilasini Rajendra Bhanurandini Rajendra Shura Sangate Kadakarisya Siyama Vikata Kaksha Bhajanam Ashoka Vishavallari Vitanamanda Pastite Pravala Vala Pallava Prabhanurangikovale Varavayat Spuratkare Prabhuta Sampadalaye Nadakarishya Shriyama Kripata Taksha Bhajanam Ananga Ranga Mangala Prasanga Vangara Bhruvam Savi Brahma Shasham Brahma Niganta Mana Pacham Chirancharam Vashikrita Pratiti Nanda Nandane Tadakarishya Shriyama Tataksha Bhajanam Tadit Suvarna Champaka Pradipta Gaura Vigrahe Mukha Prabha Parastatu Tisara Bindu Manjale Vichitra Chitra Sanchara Chakora Saravalochani Tadakarishya Siyama Kripaka Taksha Bhajana Adon Madati Yovani Pramoda Mana Mandite Priyanuraga Ranjite Kala Vilasa Pandite Ananya Danya Punyara Iliko Vide Kadakarisya Siyama Kripaka Taksha Bhajana Shesha Bhava Hara Hira Hira Hara Kusite Prabhuta Shata Kumbha Kumbha Kumbhi Kumbha Shushan Rashastama Rahasya Purna Purna Saukya Sagare Kadakarisya Siyama Vipakya Taksha Bhajana Rinala Vala Valari Taranga Ranga Dorlate Latagra Lasya Lolani Lalochana Vilokani La 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 Vilanga Lota Mukta Mohanashmite Tadakarisya Siyama Kripaka Taksha Bhajana Suvarna Malikanshita Viveka Kambu Kantage Visutra Mangali Guna Viratna Dipti Dipti Salola Nila Kundala Pashuna Gucha Gumpite Kadakarisya Siyama Kripaka Taksha Bhajana Lamba Binda Lamba Mana Pushpa Mekaladuni Prashastra Ratna Kinkini Kalapa Madhya Manjala Narindra Sundar Dandika Garoha Soga Gorka Adakarika Siyama Kripaka Taksha Bhajana Aneka Mantanada Manjunu Parana Raskala Samaja Raja Hansala Sanikvanati Gaurave Vilola Hema Vallari Idam Vicharu Chankrame Kadakarisya Siyama Ananta Koti Vishnu Lokanam Rapatma Jarchite Vinatrija Pulomaja Virincha Javarapade Apara Siddhi Vidita Sarpadanguli Make Kadakarisya Siyama Kripaka Taksha Bhajana Akeshwari Priyeshwari Saveda Vasareshwari Triveda Bharateshwari Pramana Sarvaneshwari Rameshwari Swameshwari Pramoda Kananeshwari Vajeshwari Vijadipe Shri Radhike Namostute Iti Mamadbhutam Stava Nisham Yabanu Nandini Karotu Nandanam Adhikasya Bhajana Davetta Taiva Sanchita Trirupa Karmanasana Bhavetta Brajendra Sanamandala Praveshana Tada Karishya Shiyama Kripakataksha Bhajana Charuvakra Mandala Sukarnaratna Kundala Suchachitandra Chandanam Namami Nandanam Sudhirga Netra Pankajam Shikishikanda Murtajam Ananga Koti Mohanam Namami Nandanam Sunasika Ramoktikam Swachanda Danta Pantikam Navambudam Chikranam Namami Nandanandanam Kareno Vena Ranjitam Chapi Karindra Ganjitam Tukula Pita Sobhanam Namami Nandanandanam Vibhanga Deha Sundaram Tutaduti Sudakaram Amulya Ratna Bhusanam Namami Nandanandanam Sugandha Anga Saurabham Puro Virati Kaustubham Sudakshira Saranchanam Namami Nandanandanam Davana Sunagaram Vilasanugavarsanam Surendra Garvamokshanam Namami Nandanandanam Rajangana Sunayakam Sada Sukha Pradayakam Jagannana Pralobanam Namami Nandanandanam Srinandanandanashtakam Tadedyaratmukhanditam Taredvavam Hindustaram Lavektaram Viyurmam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe Radhe, Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Ganhavata Giridhari, Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai, Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai, Shishi Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishna Om Astog Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishna Om Astog Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishna Om Astog Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nityalila Pravishna Om Astog Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudiya Varantaracharya ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya ki jai. Srila Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parasada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sigahosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Jamuna ki jai. Brihat Madanga ki jai. Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Nam Bhajan ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra ki jai, Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Purnamasi Devi Maharani ki jai, Antadweep Mayapur Simantadweep Golden Deep Madhudweep Koladweep Rijadweep Danadweep Modamdeep Mudvik Apnanavadi Dham ki jai, Bandiravan Baduravan Belvan Lohavan Mahavan Madhuvan Talvan Kamudvan Bahulavan Vrindavan Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala ki jai. Anantakota Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Gold Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bo.
Om Magina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Peti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tam Mayatayo Tarabo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Dikatamba Sadipita Hada Spire Kandare Spiratu Vasachinandanaha Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmarita Rangamatye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Vajami Radam Aravinda Netram Smarami Radam Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radam Karuna Bharatram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Chapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Vaishnavas and Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the assembled devotees and Vaishnavas listening and watching, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha kalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhavevicha, patitanam papnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namaha. So today is the second day of our official Vraja-mandala Parikrama. And today is the first time that we're going to go out on kirtan together. And we'll go in procession, the whole party. Previous years, we would camp in Rup Sanatan and different dharmshalas, but this year and the last 10, 12 years, we've always camped in Gopinath Bhavan. So we come out of the front gates facing Jamuna Devi, who's quite full right now. She's very clean. It's after the rainy season. And then we're going to go to the left. As we come out of the gate, we'll go to the left and walk up about 2 kilometers practically, maybe 2.5 kilometers. until we reach Kaliya-daha. And here we're going to hear the remarkable pastimes of Kaliya-daha. So during Krishna's manifest pastimes, Yogamaya, she allows many demons to enter Vrindavan because they enhance the sweetness and speciality of Krishna's relationships with all the Brijbasis, especially this pastime we're going to discuss today. This pastime today is very special. It's the first time when the Brijbasis see Krishna chastising a demon. So this creates many moods and specialities and sweetnesses in the hearts of all the Brijbasis. This is the purpose of these demons manifesting in Braj. So 5,000 years ago, Kaliya-naga, the snake, was residing in Ramanaka Island, which is around the Fiji area. And Garud, who's actually his stepbrother or brother, they have different mothers. Kaliya's mother is Kadru, and Garuda's mother is Viniti, but their father is Kasyapa Muni. So from Viniti comes Garuda, and from Kadru comes Kaliya. And Garuda would come regularly to this island because the food for big birds is snakes. That's their foodstuffs. And he would take the little snakes. So the Nagas, they made a deal with Garuda that we will offer you roots and nice foodstuffs under a certain tree, and you just come once a week and you just take these foodstuffs. But Kaliya, being very vicious and duplicitous, he was taking those offerings and eating them himself. Kaliya is a huge serpent. He has 101 prominent hoods and 1,000 other heads. So he's enormous, but he was eating because he thought that he was, that no one could defeat him. This is the pride of the demons. So when Garuda found this out, he attacked Kaliya and chased Kaliya because the power of Garuda's wings was enough just to shatter the hoods of Kaliya. So then Kaliya, he fled to this lake in the Jamuna. This lake was special because previously Subari Rishi or Subari Muni was meditating there, and he, thousands of years, he was meditating under the Jamuna. And in his meditation under the water, he became aware of all the village-like fish life around him, and he became familiar with all the different fish. So one day Garuda came into that lake and took some fish, which is Garuda's foodstuffs. And Subara Muni, he was very, very angry because he'd become attached to the fish. So he cursed Garuda. He said, if you come here again, you will die, you will leave your body. And we understand, the Acharyas have explained, that Subara Muni, by cursing Garuda, who's the eternal carrier of Vishnu, this was a great offense that actually he committed. And Subara Muni, he had become more attached to his material friends in that lake than he had to honoring the Vaishnavas and devotees. So this was an aparad. So as a consequence of this aparad, he actually fell down from his meditation. And at the same time that he fell down from his meditation, he was seeing two fish copulating. Just as simple as that. After thousands of years sitting under the lake, and then he saw these two fish copulating, and then he became infected with lusty desires, and he left that lake. Then he goes to King Mudga, who has many daughters, 50 daughters, and he manifests himself in 50 different forms and marries all those queens and suffers like anything because he's actually come out of the lake. But almost simultaneous to that, as a consequence of his cursing, Kaliya comes to take up residence in this lake because he knows that Garuda won't come here and bother him, because he knows Garuda's been warned by this curse. So Kaliya, he's residing in this lake. But understand the nature of this lake. This lake is, in Australia, they call them billabongs. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but a billabong is like an offshoot of the main river. The water doesn't actually flow through. It's like a separate lake. It was 8 miles across. That's the distance from Vrindavan to Mathura. It's a big distance, 8 miles. That's how big the lake was. Kali was enormous himself, and he has his thousands of queens, Nagapatnis with him, and his children, etc., his whole entourage. But the water doesn't actually flow in the lake. The river water continues flowing, but this lake became totally poisoned by Kaliya. And it's described that within 200 bow lengths, every tree had died on the bank of this lake. And any bird flying across this lake would immediately die from the vapors of Kaliya's poisonous smoke that was coming out of his mouth and his eyes. So everywhere was totally contaminated. Very heavy, intense situation. Now, one day, it just happened to be Balaram's appearance day. And Rohini Ma, she told Balaram, now you must remain at home. We will perform many sanskars and puja for your avirbha, for your appearance day. So Balaram was happy with that, but Krishna wasn't going to remain. He was very anxious to go with his friends into the beautiful Vrindavan forest, where he relished so many pastimes with his beloved cowherd boys. So Balaram, he cautions Krishna. It's very hot. This is in the middle of summer. And he cautions Krishna because he knows Krishna's nature. He says, whatever you do, don't go to Kaliya-daha. Don't go to the lake, because I have to be with you when you go there. That serpent Kaliya is very, very dangerous. It's a huge demon. So certainly don't even think to go without me. So Krishna, he just nods his head. Then he gets out with the cows and cowherd boys, and what's the first thing he does? He goes straight to Kaliya-daha. This is the nature of the ras between Balaram and Krishna. They have there's many pastimes between Balaram and Krishna that exposes their beautiful relationship. Balaram is the elder brother, and he wants that respect from, and Krishna gives it to him, but to a certain degree. But there's many pastimes with Balaram of this nature. So Krishna, he's at the back actually, and all the cowherd boys, they run ahead on this very hot day. They come to this huge expanse of water, the lake, Kaliya-daha. And immediately they go to drink the lake, the water, and they all die. It's described by Jiva Goswami in his Gopal Champu. They all die. All the boys immediately die. And Krishna, he immediately understands what's happening. And Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna, he goes personally and embraces each particular cowherd boy for a long time and brings them back to life. How beautiful. Krishna is so attached and attracted to his beloved cowherd boyfriends. So he embraces each of them for a long time and revives each of them. Then they wake up like they've been in a dream, and then they understand what's actually has happened. And they are just astonished with Krishna's potency that he can bring them back from the dead, because they realize they have died drinking that poisonous water, of course. That water is so contaminated. But then Krishna, he decides to chastise Kaliya. He thinks this is the right time to chastise Kaliya. So there's a single tree, a kadamba tree, that's growing right over the lake. And this tree was blessed by Garuda. Garuda was carrying the pot of a pot of nectar. And a drop of nectar landed on the tree, giving it an immortality, the tree. So this was arranged for this particular pastime. So Krishna, he climbs this tree very quickly. And the cowherd boys are all on the bank watching in wonder, because they have been so impressed by Krishna chastising many demons in the past. They've seen him chastise Bakasura. They've seen him chastise Trinavrata. They've seen him chastise Agasura. They've seen him chastise these huge demons. They've heard about Putana when he was a very small child. So they've heard about his chastisement. They've seen him pull down the twin Arjun trees. They've seen him do all these things. So the cowherd boys are completely fearless, and they're watching Krishna like an audience. So Krishna's playing up for the audience, so to speak, and he slaps his arms like a wrestler, tightens his belt, pulls his hair back, ties it, because he's going to have a big fight with this demon. And he's getting prepared. And then he does a beautiful dive off the tree, right into the lake. And then he begins sporting in the lake. But remember, when Krishna dives into the lake, he's carrying the entire Brahmand within his abdomen. He's got countless Brahmans in his abdomen. So what sort of impression does it make in the lake? All the waves immediately roll over the banks. And there's a huge inundation in the lake when Krishna lands, a huge disturbance. And then Krishna, even on top of that, begins playing in the lake. And he's cupping his hands and he's splashing water and he's making musical sounds with his hands on the top of the lake. And the Charanas and the Devas, the demigods, they immediately hear this sound. Anything Krishna does, they're watching. And they immediately come to accompany him with their mridangas and musical instruments. And Krishna's making this beautiful festival of noise, of music on top of the lake. And Kaliya, who's deep in the lake, he understands, my God, someone is trespassing in my lake. And he becomes incensed with anger. And he rises up out of the lake, this enormous, enormous serpent. We can only imagine the enormity of this serpent. 1,000 hoods and 101 prominent heads. And each of these heads are huge. They're like platforms, each head. And he rises up with his eyes rolling red with anger and emanating smoke, and fire is coming out of his mouth. And he sees Krishna. He sees Krishna clearly. He sees him in a yellow dhoti. He sees the Kastubamani on Krishna's chest. And he sees his beautiful smiling face. Krishna gives him this darshan directly. He sees him. And Kaliya is aware for a few moments of the beauty and splendor of Brajendranandan, Shyam Sundar. This is such a rare darshan he's having. But then his wicked nature overcomes his mind. And he just ferociously lunges at Krishna and he bites Krishna. And then he immediately wraps him in his mighty coils. And Krishna's doing his pastime and he submissively lies in the coils. And when the cowherd boys, they see this, they just all faint completely. But the Devas, as we've discussed many times, they don't have complete nishta in Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They think he's an empowered personality. But when they see him captured by Kaliya, they're not sure he's going to be okay. They know how dangerous a demon Kaliya is. So the Devas, they want to support this pastime. So how do they do that? They manifest 3 different sorts of ill omens. They make earthquakes happen because they know the Brijbasis, they have to come. Somehow or other, the demigods are thinking if the Brijbasis come, things will be all right. I don't know why they're thinking that. But anyway, they want to advertise this fact of Krishna bound in the coils of Kaliya. So they manifest earthquakes, and then they manifest meteorites in the sky. This is the second type of inauspicious omen. And then they make the left side of men tremble, which is very inauspicious. When the left side of ladies trembles, that's very auspicious. And the right side of men trembles, that's very auspicious. But the other way around is inauspicious. So all of the Brijbasis are all only just sitting down to take this enormous feast that Rohini Ma's cooked and Mother Yashoda's helped prepare. They have this huge, all the Brijbasis have gathered to take this feast in celebration for Balaram's appearance day. And they're all sitting down in Vrindavan, just about to take this feast. And suddenly these inauspicious omens manifest and happen. What do the Brijbasis think? They only think of one thing. Krishna is our life and soul. If something has happened to him, we will leave our bodies. We can no longer live in this world. If anything happens to Krishna, we cannot remain. It would be intolerant for them. So, but Balaram is there, and it's described by Jiva Goswami that when all the Brijbasis begin to panic because they think only something bad's happened to Krishna, Balaram gives them a beautiful, radiant, confident smile. And then he says, don't you know the potency of my younger brother? Didn't Gaga Rishi say he's practically as good as Narayan? Don't be so worried for this. And Balaram somehow or other subdues the panic, but still the Brijbasis, they must go to where Krishna is. Now, this is remarkable. Now they have to follow the trail of hundreds of thousands of cows, all their hoof prints. But the Brijbasis, they have such deep affection, anurag for Krishna, that they can perceive Krishna's footprints amongst all the cows' footprints. They're so one-pointed, focused. They see Krishna's barley corn, his thunderbolt, his umbrella, his elephant goad. They see all of these footprints clearly between all of these thousands of footprints of the cows. And the whole village, including all the young children, everybody, the old people, everybody, the whole village empty. And they're following desperately the trail of Krishna. And they come to this Kaliya-daha. And there they see, to their horror, Krishna bound in the Kaliya's coils. And as I said earlier, the Brijbasis have never seen Krishna defeat a demon. They've never seen this. The cowherd boys have seen many times in the pasturing grounds with Bakasura, etc., Agasura, they saw. But Mother Yashoda and the elderly gopis, and the gopis themselves also, they've never seen Krishna with a demon like this. And immediately, of course, Mother Yashoda wants to enter the lake. And Nanda Baba, he's restraining all Mother Yashoda and the elderly ladies because it's completely poisonous. And then the men, Nanda Baba, he decides he will enter the lake and save Krishna's life. And Baladev, it's described very clearly in the Bhagavatam. He holds his arms out wide and again radiates the most beautiful, confident smile and tells them not to worry. Krishna is okay. Don't be so disturbed. So somehow, by his potency, he manages to pacify them. The gopis, at this time, their minds have just become blank. They're like completely void. They cannot the cows are totally stunned. They've just frozen, and they're looking at Krishna. The cows love Krishna as much as all of Vrindavan. Their affection for Krishna. This is what this pastime is bringing out. This is why Yogamaya allows the demons to enter Vrindavan, because it churns the hearts of all the Brijbasis. So their feelings of separation are really mounting when they're seeing Krishna in this condition. And they become so anxious and practically ready to leave their bodies. And Krishna, it's described, he remains in the coils for a single muhurta. That's 48 minutes. It's a long time, 48 minutes. He's in the coils of Kaliya. And when he sees Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba practically ready to give up their lives, just a fraction away from leaving their bodies, because they can't tolerate this painful condition, then Krishna begins to expand himself. At Kaliya, he feels the pushings of this personality within his coils, and it becomes intolerable. He can't contain this young boy. And Krishna, he expands himself, pushes himself out. And then Krishna quickly jumps down. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur describes that actually during this time when Kaliya is binding Krishna in his coils, there's a small sandbank island in the middle of this lake. And somehow Kaliya has come to that island when he's got Krishna in his coils. So when Krishna jumps down, he jumps down onto this small island in the middle, and he's able to run around Kaliya very, very fast. Who can run faster than Krishna? Even though Kaliya's got 1,000 hoods and is trying to grab him with his mouth, etc., Kaliya becomes completely exhausted, totally exhausted. Even all the fumes of his poisonous mouth stop flowing so much because he's exhausted. This perhaps goes on for, 20 minutes or so. a long time, Krishna is racing around and completely exhausting Kaliya. And then when Krishna sees Kaliya become a little bit exhausted like this, then he, with one hand, it's described, he pushes down on Kaliya's hood. It's described that Kaliya's hood is like a platform. They're so big, and he pushes down on the hood, and then he jumps up onto the hood, and then he kicks Kaliya. But again, he's got all the Brahmans within his abdomen. So what sort of kick is that in the head of Kaliya? I mean, that's just not an ordinary kick. That's like a boot of the universe behind it. So Kaliya is completely knocked, but then he's got 100 other prominent hoods. But then Krishna, he sees the gopis. This is very important. The gopis' hearts have become so much anxious, and Krishna looks towards the gopis, and he indicates to the gopis, watch me now. This is how we will dance in a future Purnima. We will dance like this. Just see what sort of dancer I am. Krishna is called Natavara. This is the master of dance. Shivji, he's Nataraj. He's the king of dance. But the master of dance is even higher than the king. The master is higher than the king. So then Krishna looks towards the gopis. He pulls his flute out. He starts to play a little melody on his flute, and he begins to dance from one hood to the next hood, to the next hood, to the next. This is such an inconceivable pastime. Nobody could conceive of a pastime like this. It's the reality of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. And each time he jumps to another hood, he kicks it really hard. Not enough to totally kill Kaliya, because he wants to keep dancing. He wants the, energy to keep flowing. And the devas at this time, they're throwing flower. Every time Krishna comes onto another hood and kicks it, they throw flowers. They throw flowers. Every single time he lands, they throw more flowers. Then the devas, the Gandharvas and the Charanas, they start to accompany Krishna doing his dance. But Krishna's dance is so fast and so intricate that they can't keep up with it. They're trying to play all these instruments, but they can't keep up with his dancing. And then the devas, they just start clapping. They can no longer play their instruments. They just start clapping and throwing the flowers, when Krishna kicks the hoods. And then, after some time, Krishna realizes Kaliya's practically had it. And it comes a moment in time for Kaliya when he realizes this person is more strong than Garuda. How can this person, who is this person? This must be that Lord Narayan that my wives are always talking about. The Nagapatnis are pure devotees. They are pure devotees, his wives. And his wives have been continually preaching to him. His wives are completely tired of his evil ways. And his wives have tried to, Dharma Patnis, that they've tried to reform him. But Kaliya's wicked nature was so strong, it wouldn't be receptive to that. So then Kaliya begins to pray in his heart to that Supreme Lord Narayan. He begins to see his own wickedness. He begins to see that, and he begins to realize that this personality is none other than Lord Narayan. And he starts to pray to him. He surrenders to him at that point. And Krishna, of course, is instantly aware of this. And the Nagapatnis, they are also instantly aware of this, that their husband is now coming to a submissive stage of consciousness. And being good wives, they want to support their husband. If there's even a tiniest little flicker of purity in his heart, they want to support that and nourish it. So they immediately come with their sons in front of them, because Krishna, they're afraid of Krishna, they're not sure. So they have their sons in front of them. And there's 23 verses describing their prayers in the Bhagavatam. They're very, very beautiful prayers. My Gurudev, when he was translating this part of the Bhagavatam, putting his commentary in, etc., we were in Bhaja, and he began to tell us in Bhaja the beauty and sweetness of the Nagapatni's prayers. My Gurudev was totally immersed in these beautiful devotional prayers to Krishna at that time. begging him to forgive their wretched, wicked husband, Kaliya. And Krishna, only on the strength of the prayers of these Nagapatnis, gets down from Kaliya's hoods. Meanwhile, of course, the gopis have just gone into a place of transcendence, totally seeing this pastime being performed. And then when Krishna steps down, then Kaliya, he can hardly move. Every bone in his body is practically broken. All his muscles are completely smashed. And he's in a very crippled, he can't even rise himself off the island. And then Krishna, with his hand, he touches Kaliya so that all his strength comes back into him again. And then Kaliya begins to offer beautiful prayers to Krishna and offers a sequence of beautiful prayers to Krishna, forgiving him his heinous, wretched nature. And then the Nagapatnis, then Kaliya, he gives so many jewels, etc., to Krishna at that time. But then the Nagapatnis come and they bathe Krishna. They give Krishna like an abhishek, and they have their treasury box with so many jewels that snakes always have. Because when Krishna was dancing on the hoods, I didn't mention, all of Kaliya's lights on his hood, his jewels on his heads, were all shining on Krishna. We can imagine what a splendid vision that must have been for those on the bank watching, with the lights from his hoods all shining, radiating up to Krishna. So the Nagapatnis, they give many ointments and beautiful creams to Krishna because he's been in the water for 48 minutes. And then they also, during this fight with Kaliya, Krishna's Kastubamani fell off his neck. And the Nagapatnis, they find that, and then again they offer him that back. So Krishna is very radiant with all these new creams and beautiful herbal scents, etc., and jewels and cloths that he's been decorated with. And then Krishna turns to Kali and said, now you go straight back to Ramanaka and never you come into this lake again in your life. Garuda will never touch you again because he'll see the marks of me on your hoods and he will never never need to fear him again. So, and he says, go immediately, instantly go. And as soon as Kaliya goes from the lake with all his wives, etc., Krishna, by his potency, manifests that lake as beautiful, crystal clear water, and it becomes back to its pristine condition that it was previously. And then Krishna, he comes onto the bank, and all the Brijbasis, first of all the ladies, Mother Yashoda, they can't contain themselves. They just rush to him, and they start examining his body. He's just surrounded by hundreds of mothers just looking at his, and Nanda Baba is described at this time, which is really contrary to his nature. He forces his way through all these women to get to Krishna and to embrace Krishna also. And Balaram also is with Nanda Baba. And as soon as Balaram sees Krishna, he puts him on his lap and he starts embracing him and weeping also. This is why Yogamaya allows these demons to come in, because how they churn. The Brijbasis thought that Krishna was going to leave this world, and they knew they could not maintain their lives without him. So there's a tremendous reunion. After a tremendous impending separation, there's this tremendous reunion. And the gopis, meanwhile, they can't do like that, but they're standing in the distance and they're looking with so much affection and attraction. And Krishna's looking to them. He's giving them so many beautiful, blissful sidelong glances. And then by Krishna's prompting, Nanda Baba decides, well, now it's become too late. And it's a long way back to the village. We should actually all take rest here tonight. And it's described in the commentaries that Krishna arranged like this because when the Brijbasis camp out, Krishna has much more freedom because everyone's just sleeping and camping all over the place. So Krishna, at this evening, in this time, he can meet with the gopis freely and he can exchange with the gopis. And it's at this point that all the gopis realize that Krishna actually is most attracted to Sri Radhika. This is when it's revealed. Because the next day, Saiba and Padma, the associates of Chandravali, they say, quickly, we have to really grab Krishna before he falls in love with his Radha. We've seen actually his attraction to Radha. We have to do something. So they start planning. And there's a whole pastime there that Vishnu Chakravarti Tagore describes where Makula Saki and makes a gali, and it's a long past. It's very beautiful. But they try to hijack Krishna straight away. But this evening hasn't concluded yet, because it's described that either they're friends of Kaliya or there's Kamsa's agents, and they make a forest fire, because it's in the middle of summer, happen around them. And again, all the Brijbasis who only know Krishna as the focus of their lives, they come with complete surrender to Krishna, say, Krishna, only you. This forest fire is totally raging, because these wicked demons of able to create fire like that, they have surrounded the Brijbasis totally, that there's no place that they can go. It's just roaring, and the cows are mooing piteously. And then they pray to Krishna to please, relieve them of this. So Krishna, by his samurika potency, it's described. He has many, many potencies. So one of his potencies is called samhurika. And this potency, he's able just to, he tells all the Brijbasis not to watch, and he swallows that whole fire. And the Brijbasis, they finish their rest. And then, amazingly, they all go back to the village, and all of the preparations for Baladev's Abhiyabhav are still all in place. And it's described by Jiva Goswami, they're still all hot. They're all completely fresh. Nothing has become disturbed. Somehow or other, the forest goddesses and devis, they preserved that whole feast in its utter freshness and so on. So then they all sit down and take that beautiful feast. So this is the pastime of Kaliya-naga. There are many other details also, but it's such a remarkable picture that we can have of Krishna dancing on these hoods. We see many sort of magicians doing all kinds of sort of things in the streets and stuff, walking on tight ropes and stuff. But I've never seen anyone remotely dancing on the hoods of serpents. This is something that nobody else can do except Supreme Lord. And not only that, but he was dancing with the gopis' hearts simultaneously. So many things. Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, he talks about this pastime a lot in connection with the gopis. How this was when the gopis first developed unflinching anurag for Krishna. This conjugal mood had arisen completely in their hearts. When they saw this, they were just finished. That was it. They were just totally 100% over to Krishna completely. And that was exactly what Krishna wanted to accomplish, more than anything. And then after this pastime, we understand that Krishna, which leads us into the second pastime today, he goes to this hill called Dwadasatila. And it's described how 12 suns manifest themselves. Suryadev has been watching this pastime and was feeling he wanted to comfort Krishna, because Krishna was in the Jamuna for 48 minutes. So 12 suns manifest to heat the body of Krishna, to bring him back to full warmth and strength. So that happens after that. So this is Kaliya-hrida. Kaliya-hrida ki jai. Kaliya-naga ki jai. So right beside this place where we've come to, and today we can see the kun, so to speak, what's left there. And there's a little murti there. But around the back, we come to Prabhodananda Sarasvati. His samadhi is there. And Prabhodananda Sarasvati was such an exceptional person. In Krishna Lila, he's Tungavidya. Tungavidya is described as 5 days older. That just reminds me, by the way, that I have to make a correction about yesterday. I'd forgotten. Yesterday, I was saying that the month of Kartik came from the mother of Radharani, who was called Kartikeya. Of course, her name is Kirti-da. But from the name Kirti-da comes the name Kartik. And in my mind, when I was saying it, I just said Kartikeya, who is, of course, the son of Parvati. So that was a correction that I have to make today. That Kirti-da, the mother of Krishna, of Radharani, this month is named after her. And there's a derivation from that word Kirti-da, which comes to Kartik. That's how it's actually manifest. So we come back to Prabhodananda Sarasvati, and it's just a very small little samadhi place just behind Kaliya-daha. And we hear how originally Prabhodananda Sarasvati, he's from Sri Rangam. He's the brother of Venkata Bhatta, and his nephew is Gopal Bhatta. So this is where Prabhodananda Sarasvati is from. And my Gurudev always took extreme time to explain this is not the Prabhodananda Sarasvati of Varanasi, this Mayavadi sannyasi. They're utterly two different personalities. So Prabhodananda Sarasvati, after when Gopal Bhatta leaves Sri Rangam, when he's older, when his parents have actually left this world, Gopal Bhatta wants to join Rupa and Sanatan in Vrindavan. So Gopal Bhatta comes at that time. And shortly after that, Prabhodananda Sarasvati comes. And Prabhodananda Sarasvati, his uncle. And it's described that he's like the guru of Gopal Bhatta, Prabhodananda Sarasvati. He grew up understanding him like a guru. So Prabhodananda Sarasvati comes to Vrindavan, and first of all, he lives in a place called Luk-Luki. There's a place called Luk-Luki Kund, and it's in the vicinity of Kamyavan. And we actually climb one hill in Kamyavan, and we can look across this very dense forest today, and we see the little Kund and the place where Prabhodananda Sarasvati. It's a very, very, very lonely place today. So what must it have been like 500 years ago, right? 500 years ago, yes. Right, in the time of Mahaprabhu. So Prabhodananda Sarasvati, of course, he has darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sri Rangam when Mahaprabhu stays there for 4 months of that rainy season, during the Chaturmasya season. He stays there, and Gopal Bhatta is doing all kinds of wonderful services directly for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that Prabhodananda Saraswati, he has had all that association with Mahaprabhu, and then he comes to Vrindavan, and he gifts the conditioned souls such beautiful literatures. He gives us the Radha Rasa Sudanidhi. This is just an intoxicatingly beautiful scripture, many hundreds of verses, and very, very beautiful. He also gives us the Vrindavan Mahimamrita, which is 1,700 verses. We have it in English in 19 different volumes. And there's so many beautiful expressions of attraction to Radhika there. He says, he says, Radha and Krishna, they say to each other, let us multiply our lives millions and millions of times. And with these lives and this extra time, let us just simply glorify Vrindavan. Let us spend because Vrindavan, the whole background of Vrindavan, all the descriptions in Govinda Lilamrita, Bhavanamrita, etc., are so exceptionally beautiful. And all the pastimes, especially the rasa-laden pastimes, they're all manifesting in this magical forest of Vrindavan. But there are many forests, 12 forests that we've described. So within these 12 forests are such magical bowers and cottages for their loving pastime. So Prabhodananda Saraswati, he would carefully describe all the beautiful aspects of Vrindavan. And he gives another quote, very beautiful. He says that the veena makes no sound. The flute does not play the 8th note. The cuckoos no longer warble. The gopis are silent. And Lord Hari gives up his love talk when Sri Radha sings the glories of Vrindavan. There's 17,000 verses, and they're all in English. We can actually absorb ourselves in these excellent books, Vrindavan Mahimamrita. And then he also says, I've already said that one, but he also says, have you not heard yourself glorified again and again in so many lifetimes? What varieties of sensational pleasure, beginning with enjoyment of beautiful women, anointed with sandal and decorated with splendid garlands, have you not already enjoyed in many, many lifetimes? Now, please become averse to all these sensual pleasures. Now become like a bumblebee, enjoying the ultimate transcendental pleasure in the charming forest that is the place where Sri Radha enjoys her pastimes. It's verse after verse after verse like this. It's like really heart-melting. He also says, in all the three worlds, what men are not controlled by women? They who are not controlled are mostly men who hanker for fame, but some may be seen who are great saints, untouched by material desires, and whose company makes the material desires of others fall away. O intelligent reader, if you have no desire to awaken the material benefits that sleep in your hand, reside peacefully in Vrindavan. If you take this as a meditation and just read through one of these beautiful Vrindavan Mahimamritas, Shakatas they're called, you will be completely melted into the world of transcendental Vrindavan. So Prabhodananda Sarasvati has given this amazing gift of all these descriptions of Vrindavan. And his samadhi is there just behind Kaliya-daha. And there's many sadhus who follow Prabhodananda Sarasvati, and they have their own mat there. So I think that's all I understand about. I think that's it about Prabhodananda Sarasvati. So Prabhodananda Sarasvati, Ki Jai, very exceptional, remarkable, Tunga Vidya, loving personality. So from the samadhi of Prabhodananda Sarasvati, we walk back from in the direction where we've come from, as if towards Gopinath Bhavan. But instead of going along the main Parikrama road, we veer off to the right, and we walk a little way up the right, and we come to this remarkable temple of Madan Mohan. You've all seen pictures of the beautiful temple of Madan Mohan. It's described that there's two spires on the top of Madan Mohan. There's one spire that is like straight and unornamented, and there's another spire that has beautiful ornamentation and is somewhat little bit crooked. This is described as Krishna, and the straight one is described as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So these are the spires on Madan Mohan. So of course the Acharya here is Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami is the Sambandha Guru. Sanatana Goswami, the brother of Rupa Goswami, and originally he was imprisoned because he refused to join that Nawab of Bengal in his attack on Orissa. He'd already had darshan in 1515 of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, they had met Mahaprabhu, and he'd instructed them at that time, come to Vrindavan. And they could see who Mahaprabhu was with their pure vision. They understood. At that time, that was, what is it, Dabya Kash and Shakar Malik. These two personalities, they'd taken on Muslim names. But they came from Brahmin families, in fact. But they were pressured by the Nawab of Bengal. If you don't come and join my government, I will persecute the Vaishnavas. So they did it in a service to the Vaishnavas. They had to take that service. They had no choice. They had to serve. They were press ganged into that service. But they took such responsible posts. Sanatana Goswami was the prime minister. Nawab of Bengal was a very powerful personality. Extremely powerful. At that time, the Muslim empire was all in this area. And the Nawab of Bengal was a very prominent personality in that government. And Sanatana Goswami was the prime minister, and Rupa Goswami was the treasurer. But nevertheless, they would still hold meetings all the time with Vaishnavas. And Sanatana Goswami is described had a beautiful place built where he had a mini Vrindavan. you can go today in Ramkeli and you can see Radhakund is there, you can see Shamakund is there, you can see all these different places are there in Ramkeli. It's very, and Madan Mohan deity is there also in Vrindavan, in Ramkeli. So this was their condition, and under the order of Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami immediately was able to leave because he wasn't quite so compromised as Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami was very, my Gurudev describes, he had a very logical, rational mind and was able to accomplish many material things very easily. Rupa Goswami had a different mood. He wasn't quite as logical as Sanatana Goswami. So they have these personalities will be utilized in their services. So Rupa Goswami was able to leave very early with 2 boatloads of treasure, and for all his family members, etc., and for the Vaishnava service. And we know that Sanatana Goswami was incarcerated in this jail, horrific jail. It's a completely round stone jail. And just through the only window there was where the place where they executed all the prisoners. So all the prisoners in the jail could see the executions taking place. So it's a very horrific place. They were just traumatized. Anyway, at this time, even just taking darshan of this place, you become fearful. But then Rupa Goswami, he had left 10,000 gold coins for his brother with a grocer, and Sanatana Goswami was able to make his escape from the Turkish watchman guard. And this is a whole long story. And then he managed to come to Varanasi. He meets his brother-in-law, Shrikant, just before he gets to Varanasi. And his brother-in-law wants to help him somehow or other. And all his brother-in-law is very wealthy. He's there buying horses for the Nawab. So he's very wealthy and influential. And he wants to help him, but Sanatana Goswami won't take anything. But Shrikant, he gives him a blanket. He gives him a beautiful kambal. He gives him a warm quilt. So all he has is this quilt, and he's become in sort of raggedy clothes. And then he goes to the house of Chandrasekhar in Varanasi, where Mahaprabhu is residing at that time. And Mahaprabhu tells Chandrasekhar to go to the door, and he says, there's a Vaishnava at the door. Tell him to come in. And Chandrasekhar goes to the door, and he just sees this Muslim with long hair, long beard. And he comes back, he says, no, there's just a fakir at the door. There's no Vaishnava. And then Mahaprabhu comes out and he sees Sanatana Goswami and he just embraces him. And Chandrasekhar is amazed. Why is he embracing this Muslim fakir, And then he explains, and then he asks, Tapan Mishra is also there at that time. Mahaprabhu is staying in Chandrasekhar's house, but he's taking his meals with Tapan Mishra. And then they shave him everything, Tapan Mishra wants to give him new cloth. Sanatana Goswami says, no, just give me one old piece of your cloth. And he gives an old cloth and he tears it in half. He uses half for the top and half for the bottom. Sanatana Goswami already has captured the Vairagi mood, his pranam mantra. Vairagya Yugya, what is that? Vairagya, Samangam, just a second. Vairagya Yugyag, Vairagya Yug Bhakti Rasam Prayatna Rapayan Mam Anabitsamandam Kripala Tadyakila Sukaduki Sanatanam Tvam Prabham Ashrayami. And this means, this is written by, I didn't say that very well, but it's written by Raghunath Das Goswami. Say it now. Can you say it? You have a microphone, you can say it. Just say that. Yes, say it.
वैराग्य युग भक्ति रसम प्रयत्नै अपयायन माम अनभिप्सुम अंधम कृपाम बुधिर यह पर दुख दुखी सनातनस्तम प्रभुम आश्रयामि.
Yeah, this is the beautiful verse written by Raghunath Das, and it's saying that the kindness of Sanatana Goswami forced me to drink this nectar beverage of bhakti ras. I was reluctant, but Sanatana Goswami is so kind to the fallen, distressed, conditioned souls that he forced me to drink this nectar of bhakti ras. So this is the pranam mantra that we chant for Sanatana Goswami. Very, very beautiful. It's in our songbook. Very beautiful. And it's this vairagya, this mood of renunciation. So Sanatana Goswami had already captured that beautiful mood when he met Mahaprabhu in Varanasi. And we're talking about Sanatana Goswami, but I haven't really described Madan Mohan yet in the temple. And I haven't really explained that we've come to the Samadhi of Sanatana Goswami. But it's all under the umbrella of Sanatana Goswami. So gradually we'll piece it together.
And Advaita.
Huh?
And Advaita. Right?
Not there yet.
Not there.
Well, Sanatan
Well,
focus. Where Sanatan focus?
Yeah.
Heart is in Sanatan. And so, yes, he spends 2 months in Varanasi, receiving all the teachings from Mahaprabhu about Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. But Mahaprabhu tasks him with preaching the Sambandha Gyan Tattva. He's the Sambandha Acharya. And this is all described by Krishna's Kaviraj in the Madhya Lila from chapter 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There's 5 chapters there about Sanatan Shiksha. And it's very, very, very beautiful for us to absorb ourselves in this mood of Sanatan Goswami. And Mahaprabhu, in his teaching, he gives a very beautiful analogy, because initially Sanatan Goswami, who is considered very erudite and a great scholar by so many personalities, but then he approaches Mahaprabhu and says, I don't even know who I am. Kiami, who am I? He asks. He doesn't even know who he is. And then Mahaprabhu, he responds, Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas, Jivera Swarup Shakti, Veda Abheda Prakash. He describes this is actually your real identity. And at this time, he gives a beautiful analogy amongst all the many, many teachings. But this one analogy he gives about an astrologer. An astrologer is indicating to a friend of his whose father has left this world. It's a Brahmin, and his son is lamenting in a poverty-stricken condition in this world. And the Brahmin instructs him, he's an astrologer, he instructs him that actually your father has left you a great fortune, and you must search for that fortune. But don't go to the southern direction, because it's full of wasps and drones. These wasps and drones, they represent karma kand, these material desires. So this is in the southern direction. And then in the western direction, there's a ghost. What is the ghost? That's the ghost of speculative knowledge. This Gyan Kand is there in the west. And then in the north, there's a great black snake. Don't go to the north to look for the treasure. This black snake is the snake of mystic yoga. If you try to develop that area, then you will be lost in that. But just go to the east and you just dig a little bit, and there you will discover the treasure of bhakti yoga. So this is just one of the analogies Mahaprabhu gives in this Sanatan Shiksha. There are so many analogies there, but this is his teaching in Varanasi. And then Sanatana Goswami, he is ordered to follow his brother Rupa Goswami, who's already been instructed in Prayag. Mahaprabhu, before he reached Varanasi, he meets Rupa Goswami with Anupa, and he sends Rupa Goswami to Vrindavan to discover all the lost holy places, etc., and to establish the deities in Vrindavan. So Rupa Goswami's already left. So now Sanatana Goswami, he follows 2 months later. But Rupa Goswami, he became restless while he was in Vrindavan and wanted to come to Puri. So Rupa Goswami, he leaves Puri by a different road to which the road that Sanatana, so they miss each other. So Rupa Goswami goes to Puri to again have darshan of Mahaprabhu. And Sanatana Goswami, he remains in Vrindavan that time. Actually, it's described very beautifully how Sanatana Goswami, he found many ancient architectural maps of Mathura area and was examining them all to find the exact historic pastime places of Krishna and Radha and all the different pastimes in Vrindavan. They took their seva very, very, very seriously. And Sanatana Goswami, one day, he was performing his parikrama and he came to Mathura and he saw a most amazingly enchanting young boy in the street playing with another young Brahmin boy. And he was just entranced by this couple, these two boys playing, and the way this young boy was speaking. This darkish, blackish boy was speaking to the Brahmin boy, and he was just mesmerized, and he was watching these two boys play. This was when he was doing his parikrama. And they were playing a game called Gangduli, Duli Ganda, Guli Danda. And first of all, the Brahmin boy had to carry this blackish boy. And then the blackish boy lost the next time. And then it was the turn for the blackish boy to carry this Brahmin boy. The blackish boy didn't want to carry him. And the Brahmin boy was very angry and chased him. And Sanatana Goswami was following them. And then he ran into one temple and ran behind the curtain and just assumed the form of Madan Mohan there on the altar, because Sanatana Goswami, he went in and he saw this is the same boy. This was why I became entranced with this boy. This is none other than Madan Mohan. So he was just in absolute astonishment. This is Madan Mohan. But then Madan Mohan, he requested in the heart of Sanatana Goswami, I want to stay with you. I want to come to your ashram in Vrindavan and I want to stay with you. Sanatana Goswami said, I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing. It's just a thatched little hut. All I eat is these flour dough balls, not even salt. I just make these balls and throw them into the embers of the fire. Do they have a name for those balls? There's some name, but just flour. It was just flour balls baked in the embers of the fire. Madan Mohan said, no problem. I still want to come with you. He said, how can you come with me anyway? And then Madan Mohan says, well, how come I'm speaking to you? If I can speak to you, then I can come with you. And then Sanatana Goswami understands, yes, this is non-different from Krishna. This is Krishna directly. So then Madan Mohan, he instructs, he said, you just walk ahead and don't look behind you. And just like the Shakshi Gopal deity, don't look behind you, and I will be following behind you. And when you reach your residence, then you can turn around and I'll be there. Then you can take care of me. So then Madan Mohan comes to Vrindavan from Mathura. And those who were taking care of Madan Mohan in Mathura, somehow or other by mystical arrangement, they're very happy to let Madan Mohan go with Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami has such an aura of purity about him, such a powerful personality and aura that everyone who would see him would immediately, and he had so expert dealings with everyone. When he would do his parikrama, he would spend so many days in each different village, and he would have conversations with all the different householders. How is your son? Did your daughter get married yet? This and that. He would have all these different, he was very friendly with all, unlike Rupa Goswami, who would just, and Raghunath would go very quickly on their parikrama, but Sanatana Goswami, he would connect with all these people. He was so much concerned for the welfare of the conditioned souls. So the people who were offering that worship to Madan Gopal, they allowed that deity to follow Sanatana Goswami. Then Sanatana Goswami was feeding Madan Mohan these balls, and after a few days, Madan Gopal, Madan Mohan, he came to Sanatana Goswami. I said, I got so much stomachache. I just can't handle this just flour balls. At least give me a little bit salt. And Sanatana goes, I told you, this is what you'd have to have if you come with me. And then by chance, a salt merchant who was traveling to Agra on the Jamuna, he had a huge barge carrying salt to Agra, and he got stuck on a sandbank just in the proximity of where Sanatana Goswami had installed this Madan Mohan deity. And the merchant came ashore and was so entranced with the deity of Madan Mohan, completely heart melted. And he said, if he prayed to the deity to please help me get off this sandbank with my barge, otherwise I can't get to Agra with my cargo, and I won't, my business will be finished. And by a miracle that evening, Jamuna rose and was able to take the barge off that sandbank. And that merchant, that Seti, he told Madan Mohan, if you can arrange for this, I will come back and build you a beautiful temple. And when the merchant took his barge of salt to Agra, he realized the biggest fortune that he'd ever actually achieved as a merchant. Just somehow or other, he just collected so much money from the sale of his goods. And he came back very honestly, and he built this huge Madan Mohan temple. And of course, he brought salt for Madan Mohan to take with his roti thing. But it was described that actually with Aurangzeb, he knocked a lot of that temple down. But what we have left today is very impressive and it's very beautiful. So that was the beginning of Madan Mohan. And then the son of Prataparudra, Purushottam, son's name is Purushottam. And his son sent deities of Radha and Lalita Saki. Actually, he was thinking he was sending 2 Radharani deities, one for the Gopinath temple in Vrindavan and one for the Madan Mohan temple. But when they arrived, the priest had a dream and said, no, this one deity is actually Lalita Saki. This came to the Gopinath temple. So on the Gopinath altar, you see Radharani and Lalita Saki. But the other deity was smaller and perfectly sized for Madan Mohan. So that deity came for Madan Mohan. So when we're in this Madan Mohan area, we hear all of this pastime that I'm describing now. And we also go to the Samadhi mandir of Sanatana Goswami himself, that is just behind the Madan Mohan temple. It's down the hill a little bit. We see because this Madan Mohan temple was built on a hill because Jamuna would flood regularly, just like we talked about the Ravasa being on a hill. Madan Mohan temple is also on a hill because it would flood. But Sanatana Goswami, his Samadhi is like halfway down that hill. And we come here today to have darshan of Sanatana Goswami. And then we hear all these different pastimes of his shiksha, of Sanatan shiksha. This is what we churn while we're sitting in this very beautiful compound. Today, initially it was just a monkey-infested place when we first went there many years ago, but now it's got monkey cage all around the temple, and you can actually sit comfortably. And many samadhis are there. And the Granta Samadhi is in the courtyard, where all the previous Goswami's Grantas are stored in this, what do you call it, like a stamba. And within that stamba, that pillar, are all the Samadhi literatures. I don't know how or what that means, in what capacity they are. They're obviously not digital or anything like that. But, they're going to be subjected. Anyway, it would just be speculation to talk about it, but they are all described as being within that pillar, and we always circumambulate that very carefully and reverentially when we get there. So this was when Sanatana Goswami arrived in Vrindavan initially with Rupa Goswami, they were discovering these deities that Vraja-mandala, the great grandson of Krishna, the history, it goes to Pradyumna, then it goes to Aniruddha, then it goes to Vraja-mandala. So Pradyumna is the son of Krishna, then the son of Pradyumna is Aniruddha, and the son of Aniruddha is Vraja-mandala. So this person, Vraja-mandala, he came to Vrindavan and overflowing his heart with affection and love for his beloved great-great-grandfather Krishna, and wanted to establish all these deities under guidance from the dictates of like Yogamaya within his heart was directing him how to actually manifest all these. And he manifested many, many deities. I read, I can't remember how many deities, maybe 60 odd deities altogether in the Vrindavan area. Many of those deities, of course, due to the Muslims invasion, they moved to Jaipur. We have Radha Govinda is in Jaipur, and Madan Mohan today is in Karoli, which is just before you reach Jaipur. But when you come to the Madan Mohan temple today, there's very beautiful Thakurji there. When you go up the high steps, it's right in the middle at the top, and very beautiful deities are there. And then inside, you can get a sense of how majestic that temple was originally when it was built. The huge archways, etc. Very, very beautiful and imposing, impressive. So Sanatana Goswami oversaw the construction of this huge, this Seti, this merchant, he actually did the building, etc. But Sanatana Goswami was there. So it's remarkable to consider how so much material opulence was actually around the Goswamis, and they were not slightly remotely attracted to any of this at all. They had completely embraced the full flavor of Yukta Vairagya. And like Raghunath Das we discussed the other day, how he was approached by that Seti also to build Radhakund. And he did that and totally didn't change his lifestyle one scrap. And they were just living simply because they had discovered with absolute simplicity, their fluid connection with Krishna was complete. In that renounced mood, there was no impediments to the channel, the connection of devotion to Radha and Krishna. And we see with Sanatana Goswami, he wrote so many beautiful literatures. Especially his most famous, perhaps, is his Brihat Bhagavatamrita. This Brihat Bhagavatamrita is colossal, and it spans such a huge amount of teachings, and the pastime is amazing. Right at the very beginning of this Brihat Bhagavatamrita, Narada Muni, he's inquiring from the sages and the Kumaras about who is the best devotee. This is how Sanatana Goswami is crafting it. Who is the best devotee in the world? And Narad, he goes on a quest to find out who is the greatest devotee in the world. Then he first of all comes to this Brahmana who has many shalagram shilas, and he's feeding hundreds of people every single day by his madhukari, and he's building, able to feed so many, selflessly feed so many sadhus every single day. And he tells this Brahmana, oh, you must be the greatest devotee in the world. He says, no, there's a king in South India, in Trivandrum, and he feeds hundreds of thousands of people every day. He's a king, and he has so much more wealth, and he can feed so many people. So Narad goes to this king, and then he begins to praise and glorify that king, whose whole kingdom is actually benedicted by his gracious munificence of this king. And Narad is congratulating him on being the greatest devotee, and this king says, no, I'm not Indradev in Swagaloka. He is much greater. He can distribute so much more by his power. So then he goes to Indra, and again he glorifies Indra. Narada Muni is glorifying Indra, and then Indra says, no, I'm not the greatest devotee. Actually, Lord Brahma is the greatest devotee. Then he goes to Lord Brahma, glorifies Lord Brahma. Sanatana Goswami is describing all this like in many verses. I'm just going very short. And then from Lord Brahma says, no, I'm not. Shivji is actually the greatest devotee. He goes to Shivji, glorified. He says, no, the residents of Vaikuntha, they are the great. And then they say, no, we are not the great. Prahlad is the greatest devotee. So then he goes to Prahlad. He says, no, Hanumanji is the greatest devotee. So then Hanumanji says, no, the Pandavas are the greatest devotees. So he goes to the Pandavas. No, the Yadavas, because all their family, they're so intimately connected with Krishna. And then, no, the Yadavas not the greatest. Actually, Uddhav, he is the greatest. Then he comes to Uddhav, and then Uddhav, begins to speak about the Brijbasis. And then Narad starts to understand. Actually, the Brijbasis are in a whole separate chamber or prakosht. And then he describes the very beautiful story when Mother Rohini begins to explain the glories of Vrindavan to the queens of Dwarka. And this is the manifestation of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, because they're listening this is all coming from the Brihat Bhagavatamrita. This is all coming and being described by Sanatana Goswami. And this is just in the first volume. This is not even in the later volumes. Gop Kumar is the hero of the pastime in the later pastimes, and his guru Jayanti. And then Gop Kumar goes through all the different planetary systems and eventually comes to Goloka Vrindavan. So Sanatana Goswami, he's writing this huge work at the same time worshipping Madan Mohan. At the same time, it's described he would do parikrama every single day without fail. And it's written that he would first walk from Vrindavan to Govardhan, which is about 16, almost 20 miles. Then he would do Govardhan Parikrama, which is 17 miles. Then he would walk to Mathura, which is another 10 miles, or 15 miles actually, from Govardhan to Mathura. And then from Mathura, he'd walk back to Vrindavan. So I think it means that he staggered it. I think that would be his route, and he would be constantly doing that. But he would be staying different nights in different places. I can't imagine as a materially conditioned soul how you possibly do that. But as a Nityasiddha Parikar, they're capable of doing anything. But anyway, that's how it's described, that he did this kind of extensive parikrama. And when he was very old, it's described that Krishna and Balaram came to him one day and said, "You don't have to keep doing this parikrama, now you're old." And they gave him a shalagram. And Krishna planted his foot right in them. He played a flute, the rock melted, and he put his footprint right on the rock shalagram. And he also put an impression from his flute, and one of the calves put his hoofprint on the shalagram. This shalagram is residing in Radha Damodar today, although my Gurudev says the real shalagram is within Jaipur. But the Pandas at Radha Damodar were very unhappy to hear that, because they believed that this is the real one. So anyway, who knows? But that's what Krishna came. Sanatana Goswami is such a beloved servant of Sri Krishna. So much beloved. Lavanga Manjari, that's who she is in the apricot Leela, Lavanga Manjari. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed so much affection to Sanatana Goswami. When Sanatana Goswami goes to Puri, after Rupa Goswami has visited, Sanatana Goswami wants to follow in the exact footprints of Mahaprabhu. These personalities, when you read about, like yesterday we were hearing about Bhaktipuran Keshav Maharaj and their nishta for their guru. These Goswamis, their nishta towards Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so profound. Every breath they breathed was only dedicated to fulfilling the desire and mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They understood who Mahaprabhu was. They understood his Radha, Krishna, Pranaya, Vikriti, Hladini, Shakti, Asma. They understood his Radha and Krishna. And they only wanted to support and fulfill that mission. Because they're in their spiritual forms, they are manjaris. So to please their Swamini also. So the whole entire focus on consciousness was only to bring pleasure to Mahaprabhu. So Sanatana Goswami, he wanted to follow in the exact footprints that Mahaprabhu had walked when he came through the Jarikanda forest, because it was Sanatana Goswami who cautioned Mahaprabhu not to go to Vrindavan with such a big crowd of people. Mahaprabhu was on his way from Ramkeli to go to Vrindavan, but because he had such a big crowd of people with him, and Sanatana Goswami, he mentions that actually this is not the way to go to Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu, he heeded those words from Sanatana Goswami, who was not even freed from the Muslim court yet. Mahaprabhu listened to that. and went back to Puri, then comes through the Jarakanda forest second time. So Sanatana Goswami wanted to follow in the footsteps and went through Jarakanda forest and got covered in sores, really heavy, weeping, wet sores when he arrived in Puri. And every time Mahaprabhu would rush to embrace him, and all the oozing pus from these sores would come on the body of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was feeling so, Sanatana Goswami was feeling so dejected that why is my beloved Mahaprabhu doing this? Why is he embracing me? And he would try and run away, and Mahaprabhu would catch him. And then Sanatana Goswami began to think, I have to leave this body. I cannot stay, I cannot remain in this body. When the Rath Yatra comes, I'll just fall under one of the wheels. I'll leave my body in that way, in Puri, in the presence of Mahaprabhu. This is what he'd firmly decided, taken this decision. And Mahaprabhu understood this. And they're in the Siddha Bakul ashram with Haridas. And Mahaprabhu turns to Haridas Thakur and says, is it correct if someone gives you something that they take it back again? Haridas is wondering what he's talking about. Mahaprabhu says, this person, Sanatan, he's given me his body, and now he wants to finish away with his body. He wants to, but it's my body. I have much use for this body. Why is he thinking and meditating to take his life? This is my vehicle. This is my instrument now for fulfilling my mission. Is this correct, Haridas? And he's talking to Haridas like this, in a very loving way. And Sanatan understands. And then Mahaprabhu catches Sanatana Goswami, gives him a very firm embrace, and all his sores disappear. All his sores goes away. And then Sanatana Goswami remains for 8 months. And there's so many pastimes in Puri. Sanatana Goswami wants to leave Puri at one time. And Jagadananda Pandit, he's saying, yes, you should leave, you should leave, you should not remain here. And then he tells Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu becomes very angry with Jagadananda. And he says, he's just a boy. You stay here with me. But Mahaprabhu, we read in those pages of his association with Sanatana Goswami, was so deeply affectionate to Sanatana Goswami. So we can imagine how Sanatana Goswami's heart would be bursting with Krishna Prem constantly. He was residing in the most austere place within Vrindavan. Vrindavan at that time, there was absolute zero facility. Practically, there wasn't even a village there, and they had nothing. And yet they were intoxicated with Prem day and night, and writing their gruntas, their beautiful. Also, Sanatana Goswami, he's given us this Brihat Vaishnava Toshani, this commentary on the 10th canto, which is so exquisite and delightful to read. He's also given us this Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is another huge voluminous book describing all the correct etiquette of the Vaishnavas. Mahaprabhu wanted him to do this from start to finish, all of the practicalities in the Vaishnava festivals, etc., how the Vaishnava was supposed to behave and live, etc. So Sanatana Goswami, he compiles this. There are so many glorifications actually of Sanatana Goswami and of Madan Mohan themselves, but we're in the Madan Mohan temple now, and we've come to the Bhajan kutir, samadi of Sanatana Goswami. There's also a Pushpa Samadhi in Radhakund, and right next to that Pushpa Samadhi is Madan Mohan again. There's another Madan Mohan in Radhakund. We have Gopinath in Radhakund, we have Radha Govinda in Radhakund, and in each place we have that personality. In Gopinath we have Raghunath, the big Samadhi, Pushpa Samadhi, and for Govinda we also have Rupa Goswami is there, he stayed there. So all these acharyas, so Sanatana Goswami, he is very, very prominent in our line for his literatures, for his exemplary character, but more than anything, when we read about the love that Mahaprabhu had for him, this was extraordinary. So we've been to these 4 places today. We went to Kaliya-daha, we went to Prabhodananda Sarasvati. I only told a little bit about Prabhodananda Sarasvati. There is more. Actually, most of Prabhodananda Sarasvati is within his books. when you immerse yourself in his beautiful book, that's Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi. It's all about Manjari Bhav. Prabhodananda Sarasvati is Tungavidya Saki, but he also has a Manjari form who is just called Shripad. In the commentaries and so on, the name of his Manjari form is not given there, but he also has a Manjari form, and he's referred to as just Shripad through the different commentaries that we have of that. There's no, like in Bilap Kusumanjali, it's clearly Tulsi Dasi or Rati Manjari. Or was it Rasa Manjari? Rati Manjari. So these are who these personalities are. So we have Prabhodananda Sarasvati, Kaliya-daha, Prabhodananda Sarasvati, and then Sanatana Goswami and Madan Mohan temple. So only these 4 places we visit today. That's what's on the schedule. And on the way out, down the hill, you can stop in at Vaitrabhat. That's there also. That's another story. That's a whole nother, I'm not going to go into it now. We've just discussed Sanatana Goswami. I want to stop it at Sanatana Goswami. If you go too many places, people get crowded in their minds and they don't remember everything. No, that's much later. That's another. Dan Gully today? Is that what it says? Dan Gully is the gully that where we walk in. It's Dan Gully is a lane, a little lane. And it's where Radha or Krishna would give dan, charity, to the Brahmins. That's the pastime in Dan Gully. But there's not a long story there. But I think I've spoken enough on our parikrama. And if there's anything left out, you can read it for yourselves. Okay. Vraja-mandala Parikrama ki jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha. So now we will discuss, we will listen to Damodarastikam. And tomorrow we're going to go to Madhuvan, Talvan, and Kadirvan, I think it is, tomorrow. And tomorrow I want to go through this beautiful map with you all and the different forests and get to know clearly the geography of Braj. So because we haven't actually been outside of Vrindavan today, we've just been visiting Sanatana Goswami, etc. Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kumudvan, yes, tomorrow, 3 places. Okay, Vraja-mandala ki jai. So now we're going to here offer lamps to Radha Damodar and chant the Damodarastikam. Gaura Premanandi.
Namam Vishwaram Sachidanandalupam Vasat Kumalom Dhurivajjamanam Yasodaviyolukalagavanam Param Vishwamatyam Tadoruthyagopya Yudantam Urnetra Yugmam Vijantam Param Bhoja Yugmena Sakankanetram Uhushvasakam Bhatviye Hankakanta Sita Dara Damodaram Iti Vrisalilade Ananda Kunde Sadoshami Majantam Akyapayantam Radeyeshitageshu bhaktya-chitatam Puna prema-dastam sadavritti bande Lanam deva moksham nam chavadimva Nachandyam vrineham varishajamiha Vedam deva purnata gopala balam Sagamimanyasa vinasya Idam timokam dojam avyaktamilaya Vritam kundalai snigdharachastagopya Nuhoshchanditam dimbarakasaram me Manasya varaya Ananda Vishnu Prasida Prabhuruka Kalabhimanam Vipadrishi Vrishyati Dinam Vatano Viramayana Jam Yo Madhya Udyaiva Yadvat Vayani Bhuto Bhakti Bhajo Tata Prema Bhaktim Sakame Prayacha Namokshoka Hemi Sri Damodareha Namaste Name Sri Dhamne Swadi Odaraya Vishwasya Dhamne Namo Radhikaya Tadiya Priyaya Namo Nangalilaya Devaya Todyam Namo Radhikaya Tadiya Priyaya Govinda Devaya Todyam Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Ram, Sai Gaur Hari Ram, Sai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Guru Deva, Jaya Guru, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Gauda Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vraja-mandala Parikrama ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gauda Premanandi, Vanshakaupatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah.